there, geeks. Okay, here's one of those like challenge things. I'm going to have, I think it's like 5 or 6 different ways that you need to know to keep your guitar or any string instrument in tune. I know it's crazy, but if you think about it, how many of us actually, took a class on the correct way of tuning your guitar? So here we go. Number 1. Well, actually, starting from the top, tuners, machine heads, string sticks. I don't know, all the different names that they had for tuners. So Grover tuners are like they're a pretty popular tuner, and they have a lifetime guarantee, and they stick by it. So this is a really good thing. Now, what ends up happening is the machine heads themselves, the gearing in the machine heads, there's screws in there that get loose, or the gears start to, they could be cheaply made opposed to inexpensive, cheaply made, and the parts will just wear out or disintegrate. So what will end up happening is the string tension, because there is a lot of tension on guitars and the strings. So, obviously it stops at the tuners because the tailpiece is solid. Well, let's do this one. Is solid. So the string at the bottom is not going anywhere, but at the top, that's where you tune it. That gets loose and will back away. I know it's like overkill, but when you have a classical guitar, the nylon string and the machine heads, you can see how they are with this gearing right there. When you buy inexpensive and cheaply made classical guitars, they end up backing away from the string because of the tension of the string. And as you well know, it doesn't take very much, a minute amount of turning of the knob for you to have failure when it comes to the guitar keeping in tune. So working from the tuners, so you got to have a good set of tuners that they don't fail you. That could be one of your bigger culprits. Next is your strings. Well, unfortunately, you always got to change out your strings. And the worst time to change out your strings is not the best, but the worst time to change out your strings happens to be before a gig or before you do a recording. Don't change out your strings. That's not the time, unless you're going to practice for about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get those things stretched. And if it's an acoustic, it could take longer. But when it comes to acoustics, this is everybody has a different preference, and this is what ends up happening is the strings get very dirty. They don't vibrate as well. The tone doesn't come out, and after a while, the tone is dead because the string has so much, I hate to say this, finger gook, or just played out. It's just not ringing out true. And that really makes a big difference in acoustic guitar because it ends up reverberating in the box of the acoustic itself, in the wood. And when the tone's not good, it gets really mushy. When it comes to an electric guitar, the strings, the same thing. The pickups don't pick up the right tone. Now, my problem is I like to have dirty strings just a little bit, and kind of with like a worn shoe or a nice worn jacket, where it just is so comfortable. Sometimes that's me with strings. So I'm a kind of person who likes to really enjoy his strings when they're just ready to be changed out. Now, you don't want to wait too long because strings stretch after that and will snap, and that's mainly because if there's not a problem with your bridge. Sometimes these metal bridges, they get sharp, and the strings will get a little bit of sharpness and be, after a while of playing, the string ends up developing a break. So number 2 would be make sure that you have, strings that are relatively new, but not too new. So here's number 3. You got all those things covered. and your guitar still doesn't really sound in tune. And that could be your frets. When frets are either made poorly, bad material, cheaply made, not necessarily expensive, just cheaply made, the frets will be off. Now, Gibson wants to charges people a little extra for their plecking, and that's they do it to all their guitars, but it's definitely a good thing. But and you can get it done on the outside now. It's a computer that monitors they cut the frets, okay, and but when they're done right, like with this Martin, you don't need to do that because it's done so well by the guys making it and gals making the thing that it doesn't need to be plecked. So the frets are not uneven; they're correctly even. So that'll cause your guitar not to be in tune as well. I like to play my guitars and every fret's up and down the whole fretboard. A good way to find that out is buy a blonde fretboard, like a Telecaster, and always have and you can notice the dirt. And it's kind of gross, but you'll see if you play the guitar evenly or not. Okay, that was the number 3, is make sure your frets are cool. So here we go on number 4, and that's intonation. That's when you get past the 12th fret. And when you get past the 12th fret, obviously the guitar repeats itself from the nut to the 12th fret, from the 12th fret to the 24th, 23rd, 22nd, or how many other frets you have. So after the 12th fret, if it starts not to sound good, 12th fret, if you start hearing it not being in tune, the notes being off from the first 12, from the nut to the 12th, and the 12th down, if you're seeing those different, and the intonation is this adjustment on each string on this bridge. So that's something you should have, either try to do yourself, watch videos for, or have a professional do. So next is tuners. And everybody goes, well, I got a tuner, so I just tune, and we're cool. Well, that doesn't necessarily, like I just showed you in these last ones, this is number 5, doesn't necessarily in the last 4, tuner had nothing to do with it. So I got this in 1974. It's a tuner. This was used before there was electronic tuners. And then in the 80s, I got this Sabin, this one right here. It's kind of like the Korg. The Korg would go do, 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 do. But this one would shine lights. And it was easier to read, faster, and I liked it with my rack unit. Boss really makes these really good foot tuners. They're cool. Through the upper 80s and 90s, I used this one right here. You know what's good about this one? It has a microphone. So you could pick up like classical guitars really easy without having to put a clip tuner on it. Everybody knows these clip tuners. If you notice, it's a Boss. I have the Boss foot pedal. So here we go with tuners. So you wonder, what's all the blabberjaw about tuners, right? What could be, you got a tuner, fine. Well, let's look at these. Guy goes and starts to work on the wood construction site. Goes, yeah, I got my old Stanley. Works great. You build something and you realized when you put things together with the rest of the crew, things weren't working out. Because one guy's got the new Stanley. And the other guy had a Target special. So the moral to the story is, if you're in a band with a lot of string instruments, get your tuners together. I swear you're not. And make sure that they're actually working right. That you actually have each other's same pitch. Now, this wasn't an issue before for a number of different reasons. One, everybody used pretty much Boss back in the 70s, and there wasn't a lot of companies that made them, and they were all using the same microchips and stuff. So there wasn't a lot of variance. Also, everything was expensive. There was no cheap knockoff Chinese brand stuff. There was Japanese stuff, and that was some, people complained then, but it was really quality. So if you're in a band, let's say with a keyboard player, well, you better make sure that keyboard player's every key is actually copacetic with your tuners. One of the things I did when I played in bands is I only had one guitar player because of this issue. Getting all your measuring tapes together and go, okay, guys, let's see 2 feet. Let's see 10 feet. Let's make sure that we're all marking and playing the same. So what was that? 7 now? So the next one, the last one, let's see if you can guess or if you know the last one. So this last one about tuning your guitar, knowing if your guitar is truly tuned or not, and what kind of problems you could foresee, and how to fight them, and what's going on. We're on to the last one. What is it? Well, this one really tripped me out when I came across it, and I did a couple times, but it was the last time. I was doing a MTV outdoor gig, and I was running power for all the bands that came up. It was various bands, and I change out one power for the next band, and so on and so forth. But I'm just on standby. That means I'm there in case anything goes wrong during when the shows are playing. So I don't know all the bands, but I'm sure there's some popular of some sort. Anyways, so I noticed that it didn't sound really good when these guys were like getting ready to play. They didn't sound in tune, but one guy had a guitar tech and the other guy didn't. And they're both looking at their foot pedals and tuning to themselves. And when they went to play, they were not. Somebody was out. Something was off, I should say. And let me get into this. This is the trippy one. So last one, in making sure that you are with everybody in tuning. Let's see if this tuner shows anything here. Okay. There it goes. So this is an E, obviously. And when it double lights, oops, come on, guys. Cooperate. So here we go. Come on, buddy. Yeah, it doesn't show very well on camera. What was I expecting, huh? Okay. It's not working the way I wanted it to. That's what I get. So when you're tuning, you want to tune down to up. So this is actually in tune. So you want to go from the low up. And when you go up, that's perfectly in tune. You can see it. You never want to go above it and then just go down a little. So if this was incorrect, let's say how higher it is now. You don't want to just go high to low and then be tuned. You always want to go down below the tuning. Make sure the string unravels a little bit. So when you go forward, it gets tight. So you don't want to just go from up high to low. If you do that, you'll find when you go to play, you'll always be at least the tuning or a pitch up. So you always want to go low, get a good unwinding a little bit with your peg of your string, with your winding, and then go from low to high. Okay. And you want it to ride just there you go, and not above. And if it does go above, you want that to be just a fraction. Now, when it comes to acoustic playing, it was hard to get that to work correctly. But when it comes to acoustic playing, when you're just by yourself, there's nobody in the band, and you're trying to strum the instrument hard, some players would detune their E string just a fraction because they know when they hit the string, it causes it to give a sharp pitch. So when you detune it just a little bit, when you're a hard strummer, sometimes you'll get it to pitch correctly, and then the string fades away, so it works good for you. That happens with strummers, not so much pickers or finger pickers on acoustic, but people who are hard strummers. I've seen that before. Okay. But bottom line is always tune your string, any instrument, from below the pitch up to the pitch, and not just a little bit. Make sure you get a good unwinding on the peg. Again, because, and the more delicate the situation, here to, something like this where it tunes, it does pretty good. You get a little bit of play. Acoustics, they really rely on the windings. And when it comes to classicals like these, they are really all about binding on the strings and making sure that you do it correctly. And what's correctly is from below the pitch to the pitch. So, Gear Geeks, that was a lot of talking. I'm sorry about that, but there you go. There's what, 7? And if you got all those boxes checked, your guitar should be perfectly in tune unless unless the neck is off. Oh no, I didn't go over the neck, but you understand if the neck's, I'm just going over the little other ones. So if your neck is off, that would be along with the frets, I guess. I didn't want this to be so involved. I was really getting at, Gear Geeks, the fact that if you don't tune your guitar from below up into the pitch, and everybody has a tuner, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's in pitch. Everybody hit an E. Yeah, look, it resonates, almost stays an E. But when it resonates and goes high. You want it to resonate and go just a little lower as it fades off. Otherwise, everybody's going to be sharp. Everybody's going to sound like out of pitch. And when it holds on the tuner, especially on acoustic, you hold the note and it fades away. So the note hits, and as it fades away, the strength of the note fades away, and the tonality, it goes away. If you hit a note and it just goes too sharp, and you have all your strings all discombobulated between there and sharpness, it's not going to sound good. As whereas you're at the 12 o'clock position, and it fades a little bit, and as it goes off, because the tone is fading off like it would with a pickup or an acoustic, you hit the note and then it fades off. So there you go, Gear Geeks. Again, I'm still rambling on, but with all those, you'll make sure that if you play some fancy gig, that everybody will be true to form and there won't be no issues. All right, you guys take care.